Well, hello there, friends. We are back at it again. My name is Andy Green with Green Group Real Estate, and I'm joined today by the one, the only Annie Rhythm. Mortgage.
Woo! Yes.
Was
Hello,
that,
everybody.
was that a buildup or what?
That was crazy.
That
Thank
was good.
you.
That
I
was
needed that today.
That's awesome. So I was thinking about this before hopping on, and I thought back to like March 15th when this whole fiasco really came online. And what I was doing for the 2 weeks afterwards was I was like tied to the news and the media. And honestly, I think I started getting a little bit depressed. Did that happen to you, or am I unique in this, Annie?
Oh, no, you're not alone.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure tons of our viewers and beyond feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the world, it was dramatically changing, and I wanted to figure out like what's going to happen next. And it was just so much negative news and media, and you saw the numbers increasing. And there's always, I think this is just the way my brain works, but there's a silver lining to everything. And there are
Yeah.
also good things that happen through this. And as hard as this has been and is for a lot of people, there's still good stuff happening. Would you agree?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
I think you and I embrace change, and we've talked about that before. And
right,
even though there was a lot of change going on, especially that first couple of weeks, it was tough. It was really tough to get into a new routine and just hearing all the things that are going on across the country, across the world. But I think for the most part, a lot of people have found their groove and understood what this means to them. And I don't know about you, but knock on wood, I'm very grateful that I haven't encountered anybody personally that has been dramatically affected other than folks that are on furlough or got laid off, and
right.
that's really significant right now. So
Yep. People are feeling it. People
yep.
are feeling it. And gosh, this is going to come to an end. It's going to come to an end. And do we know exactly when? No, but it seems like we're taking steps forward and having some good conversations about what that first phase looks like. So I'm hopeful, and I do see light at the end of the tunnel, and I hope that y'all see that as well. Right.
Right, absolutely.
So, what are we going to be talking about today? We are going to be talking about three simple steps that you can take to buy and sell real estate by using contingent offers, because we're seeing a lot of contingent offers in the marketplace. At least I am.
A
Um,
ton.
yeah, right. And it's a reality. And in the past, I've been selling real estate now for 21 years. So I was first licensed in 1999. And like, this is a conversation I have year in and year out is, well, we don't know where we're going to move. We don't have a house yet. We want to sell. So like, what do we do? And having conversations about contingent offers I think there's some fear around it. There's some uncertainty, and there's also some confusion. And the reality is, like, we're helping people buy and sell real estate every day using contingent offers. So let's dive into that just a little bit, and let's start with you, Annie. I think the first step in a real estate conversation usually and hopefully should be with a mortgage professional, because you have to understand how much you can afford, and are you comfortable around a budget, like whatever that looks like. So what are the first steps that somebody needs to either think about or implement to get pre-approved in today's market?
Sure. Well, so we've talked about this the last couple of weeks, not to sound like a broken record, but the federal government really has their thumb on the pulse of what's happening in the mortgage industry. So they are really controlling where interest rates are at. Interest rates are phenomenal. They're in the low 3% range.
Okay.
This is for a 30-year fixed. So first and foremost, it's understanding where are interest rates at and what does that mean to you from a buying perspective. It's also what options do you have. So I work with a company, All Pacific Mortgage, and our warehouse bank has relationships with 50 different lending institutions. So our job with our clients is to really understand what's the goal, what are their qualifications, so that we can help connect the dots between the two. And that solution may look different depending on what somebody's qualifications are.
Of course.
In the case of contingencies, most people have a lot of their equity wrapped up into their existing property. And so if we're trying to go non-contingent or, a contingent offer, how can we leverage that equity to get into a new property without skipping a beat? Most people would love to have access to that equity immediately. So it's placing together a strategy and determining what are those options. There are a couple of bridge programs, which, to be honest, I anticipate those are going to go away here pretty quickly, maybe even in the coming days or weeks. But you can set up a first and second mortgage option so that once eventually you do sell that property, you have the ability to take that equity and pay off your second mortgage, and you'd have a single mortgage remaining as if you had that equity out of the gate. There's recast options where you can make a large principal reduction and the mortgage company will recast those mortgage payments again, so that you have that initial payment as if you had it out of the gate and you have that access to that equity. So there's a lot of different things that lenders can do in order to help people not have to sell that initial property, get your offer accepted, but still make it financially feasible moving forward.
Right. And so in that circumstance, what you just talked about, really it's being a pre-approved buyer without a contingency. Using the bridge loan, and essentially what the borrower is going to do is they're just going to pay a little bit more for the convenience of being a non-contingent buyer, right?
Right, and that's ideal. I mean, the lenders these days, if you aren't going on, if you're doing a contingent offer and you're qualifying for both payments, on the lending side, we don't necessarily have to. The pre-approval is not contingent on the sale of that home. That's the main goal, because we want to make the process as easy as possible. If you have to go contingent and your equity is tied up, then it's making sure that you qualify. And lenders are putting a lot of additional restrictions. They're checking employment in the beginning. The lender is going to follow up throughout the transaction. And literally within days of closing, some lenders even post-closing are still checking in to ensure that that employment is there. So they really, really want to make sure that whoever's qualifying for these loans will continue to hopefully be qualified throughout that loan process.
Right.
Because banks are on the hook right now. And we every single day we see new restrictions on programs going away or being temporarily placed on hold. So it's even more so important to have really good communication with who's placing together these loans.
Yeah, I actually had not heard that banks are calling after closing. I had not.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So it's already closed. Like the
loan's already closed.
And okay.
So buyers are having to sign a COVID-19 addendum.
Okay.
At closing, which places a lot of heat. And what the lender is trying to do is say, well, hey, Mr. Buyer, if you know that your employment is potentially at risk and you're not disclosing that, then the liability is not going to fall back on us post-closing. We will investigate, whether or not to use scary language, but whether or not there was loan fraud going on during this time.
Okay, that makes sense. Yep, that makes sense. Okay, so interest rates are in the low threes. Awesome interest rates. And not too long ago, probably like a couple months ago, they were in the mid fours.
Yeah, 8. Yep. The beginning of this year, we were in the mid to low 4% range.
So what does that mean for a buyer's purchasing power then?
Well, it can go up or it can make those payments a little bit more affordable.
Right.
We're talking by a couple $100 depending on the price range, and up to $100,000 depending on the price range of buying power. Yep. Based on those rates lowering.
Okay, so somebody that was maybe pre-approved for $440,000, they could essentially be approved for $540,000, and that's a big difference. That's a big difference in the type of home that somebody could afford. Or if you're more price conscious and you just want to put that money into savings and long-term investments, or vacations, like who knows? Everybody's a little bit different, but it gives you more flexibility. I mean, a 1% difference in the rate is a big deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huge.
Okay. Awesome. So what is number two? Number two is find your home and write a winning offer. So not everybody's gonna be willing or want to do a bridge loan or talk about some of those options that you were talking about. They're like, okay, our equity is tied up in our home. We've found a home that is a great fit. We want to move closer to our kids, maybe 30 miles down the road, and we want to sell. And that's actually the exact scenario for a couple that we just helped through this situation. So, I would say, first off, let's talk about inventory. Inventory levels are at about 1.9 or 1.8 months supply right now, which is so low. That just means that there are very few homes on the market. We're definitely seeing a little bit of an uptick in homes that are coming on the market. And the reality is there are not a ton of options for buyers. Inventory levels, I'd say a historical range, and you hear different things from different people. I was just on a call a few minutes ago and they said 6 to 7 months is normal. And I'm hearing a lot of the time, probably more like 4 to 5 months is normal. And we're at 1.8. So we're under 2 months of inventory. And the vast majority of homes that we're selling right now, we're putting them on the market. And I'm talking like a couple days ago, they're getting multiple offers and they're selling in 2 days.
Yes. There's a huge amount of demand in the Portland metro area.
Huge. And with interest rates where they're at, I mean, it does make sense as long as you're able to do it safely and have somebody that is experienced enough and has pivoted in their business to keep people safe, then now truly is a phenomenal time to both sell your home and buy a home. So back to the example, I did want to touch on the inventory levels because they're so low. It's such a seller's market right now. And that's not to say that buyers aren't finding homes. So this couple, I met with them probably a couple of months ago. They're a past client. They're an older couple that wants to move closer to their kids. So we listed their home, and this home has a master bedroom on the main level. So the demographic for this home is probably, somewhat of an empty nester. There are 2 bedrooms upstairs and 1 bedroom on the main level. All of the main living was on the main level. So I believe that the buyer pool for that home, it shrunk. Did it go away? No, but it did shrink because a lot of that demographic, they are hunkering down right now. They might be more at risk, and so they're staying home. And if they did have plans to buy and or sell, then they kind of just put them on pause and let's just figure this out for a little bit. So this home, it ended up going under contract, and they had not identified a home yet, so they have nowhere to move. So 2 things. Number 1 is we got an offer after, I think it was like 34 days, which for us, that's honestly a very long time. Our average across the board is much lower than that. But I also understood what's happening in the market, and I believe that demographic kind of slowed the sale down. But the average in the market right now is 40, so it's under the market average. But for us, I think if we can sell a home within 2 to 4 weeks, then we're really getting market value.
Right.
So what happened is we got this offer. The offer that came in was contingent upon them selling their house. And we also put a contingency in that it was contingent upon them finding adequate replacement housing.
Wow.
So that's a lot of contingencies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And is there a little bit of uncertainty there, with so many moving bits and pieces? Absolutely. And I've been doing this for a long time, and I've helped buyers and sellers through situations like this time and time again, every year, just about every single month of the year, and it is totally doable. So we ended up coming to an agreement on this offer. We said, okay, we'll give you X amount of time. It was like around 30 days to sell your home, and we're going to go out and find a home. So a lot of moving bits and pieces, right? So we go out, we find them a home in 2 days. Find them a home in 2 days. We write that offer contingent upon successful closing of their home. And the other buyer listed their property within, I think, 3 days, and they got multiple offers and are under contract. I was notified this morning, and we've lined all of the dates up. So like everybody's closings are just going to go boom, 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 boom. And like that's happening in today's market, in this COVID market where there's a lot of uncertainty. The certainty is there's low inventory in the market. Interest rates are ridiculous. And there are homes for buyers. And so putting those pieces together, I'm not saying it's easy, but if you put your trust in agent with the experience necessary to put all those pieces in place, totally can be done.
Absolutely.
So, kind of a crazy story, right?
Yeah, nuts.
Yeah,
crazy that we're in.
It is. So it'll be interesting to see how we move forward. I feel like we have good agents on both sides, and it has been seamless considering all of the contingencies that are in place so far. So I'm excited about moving that one forward and getting it closed here in the next 30 to 45 days. The second one was a little bit of a different situation, but it was a couple that just is a move-up buyer. They've outgrown the space in their home. They have a new baby, and they identified a home. They wrote an offer contingent upon the sale of their home. And then we put that home on it got accepted. So we got an accepted offer. The sellers were willing to accept with that contingency. And we put their home on the market. And 2 days later, what do you think happened? Annie?
You cut out on my side for a second. I missed you.
I was like, Annie? Anybody there?
I'm here.
So after 2 days, what do you think happened? Did you hear enough of it?
It was a little garbled there for a second, but
internet connection.
I know.
I said last week, if we didn't have one tech issue, then
I know.
My name wouldn't be Andy Green. I feel like I have everything set up great here, though.
I can see you moving just fine. I just can't hear the words that are coming out of your mouth.
No bueno. Well, I'll work on that in the future. So, so what I said is we helped those sellers, buyers get under contract on their new home, and so accepted offer. The seller accepted the contingency with the sale of their home, and then we put their home on the market. And 2 days later, what do you think happened?
They got an accepted offer on selling their home.
Multiple offers and accepted offer on their home, and so. That is just happening in the market a lot from, all my peers across the board. The homes that are well presented, they're priced right. The seller's been willing to do some upfront work to get the homes ready for the market. They are absolutely selling. Sellers are just in a really strong position. So that takes me to the third tip that we want to talk about today is really setting your sale up for success. Couple things that you can do, and we'll just go through these real quickly. Number one is if you can get the home pre-inspected, having an inspection and truly understanding, like, are there going to be any issues that are going to come up down the road that we can address today and eliminate that objection from a buyer's mind as we get an offer. It goes so far. It makes a huge impact in the overall ease and convenience of moving through the stages, especially during the inspection period. Because if you can, really dial the home in and get it move-in ready for somebody, or, somebody might want to change their carpet or paint colors, stuff like that, great, more power to them. But eliminating the objections on issues that are going to pop up during the inspection, one way or another, the buyer's going to have an inspection done. If you can eliminate those, it's going to help a lot. So that is tip number one, have your home pre-inspected. Number two is have it professionally staged. And that doesn't mean, you have to bring a bunch of furniture in. It's just position the home and the furniture. And maybe you do want to paint one wall a little bit more neutral, or eliminate 50% of the little knickknacks that you have in the home. So when a buyer comes in, they don't see all the knickknacks, they see the home. It flows well, and they can envision themselves living there. That is going to make a huge difference as well and go a really long way. Number three is to just price your home, according to the market. Price is ultimately going to be the number one determining factor, whether you're your home's on the market for 2 weeks, or if it's on the market for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. Consumers are too smart today. They've got too much access to information on the internet. And if you're overpriced, they know it. And the reality is the good brokers are going to use those to sell other listings or other houses. That's just the way this works. So pricing your home appropriate for the market, huge deal. When you do those three things, you're truly setting yourself up for success, and you're gonna get an offer sooner rather than later and be able to remove the contingency if that's the case and move forward through the whole transaction. Did that all make sense, Annie?
Yep, it does. I'm still missing you a little bit here and there, but I'm tracking with you for sure. So I do have a question.
Sure.
So there's different strategies out there that agents run with, right? Whether it's listing the property on the high end, listing property on the low end in order to drum up business and get competitive offers and whatnot. Where do you fall in line with that? What do you suggest to people?
Well, the first thing that I always tell my clients is it's your house and it's your money, and I don't dictate the price of the home. I can analyze the data, and I feel like it's a real strong suit of mine. I understand the market. We've sold hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of homes, helped a lot of clients, and so I understand the market at a very high level. And it's not my money, it's not my house. So all I can do is give them options and information to make the most educated decision on what makes sense for them. Some people, they are just more about convenience than they are, maximizing every single dollar that they can squeeze out of the home and maybe being on the market longer than they ultimately could or should. So to really answer your question though, I'm always going to err on the side of, I do not want to overprice properties. I've seen too many times what happens, and sellers get frustrated. They get frustrated. It doesn't matter how much marketing we do, and we're really good at marketing. Like, all that marketing in the world is not going to sell the house.
Yeah.
Let's be clear.
That makes sense.
All of the marketing is not going to sell the house. So as long as we're like really close to what I feel market value is, or even a little bit under, those homes that are a little bit under and they're so they're priced really well, the condition, we've done the work up front, more than likely in today's market, they're going to get multiple offers, and we're going to get $5, $10, even $20,000 over asking price. And all of those numbers are examples of over asking price that we've had in the past 60 days. So that process is going to be so much easier for a seller to have 1 week of their home on the market. And like, we just blitz our marketing, and we're doing Zoom open houses, and we're doing live open houses. So we're doing all of the different things that we're actually having to modify in our marketing. And we're doing those things to where we're maximizing eyeballs on the property. More eyeballs we can get on the property. We're eliminating a lot of the just looky-loos in the market right now. They're just not out there. The buyers that are out there, they're serious.
Yeah.
So, so
and
that's
luckily,
my opinion on pricing. At or slightly below, you're going to get multiple offers, and you're going to find the market. Like, the market's going to tell you how much your home's worth, one way or another. Always.
Especially with all of the competition right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it. So, we've covered everything that we were going to talk about today. Let's just recap real quickly. We gave you 3 tips in order to help you buy, sell, and negotiate this tricky market by using contingencies on the buy and the sell. Because we're seeing that on a regular basis. And I think it's more important now than ever to have an experienced team working on your behalf to help you accomplish your goals, because an agent that sold 2 homes in their career, I'm sorry to say, they could be the nicest person in the world, and navigating these tricky waters is going to be challenging for them. So pick your team wisely, friends. Pick your team wisely.
Yes.
What have you got, Annie?
Well, so we talked about knowing your options, right? There's lots of different options out there depending on what your qualifications are. So coming up with a dialed in strategy to understand how it is that you can place together this plan so you can inform your team exactly what it is they need to do. It's going to make the real estate agent's job so much easier to be able to tackle that market, knowing exactly what that strategy is. So, yeah.
And the first step in the process is to always talk to your mortgage professional, the one, the only, Annie Ransom, and make sure that you're comfortable with the payment. It's within your budget, and you truly understand your purchasing power. So when you start looking at properties, you know which properties to look at, right?
Right. Absolutely. If you're contingent, a lot of that money is wrapped up, could potentially be wrapped up in that property. If you're doing it contingent, then there's got to be a good plan in place. There are things that change, especially with that contingency throughout the process when you're negotiating repairs potentially on your home, or, between those two transactions, there's a lot of moving parts. So making sure that you understand and have a clear cut game plan in place so that you've got a plan A if all the cards fall in perfectly alignment versus if you're having to make some adjustments just so you don't get halfway through your transactions and realize it's not feasible.
Right. Well, it's all about preparation.
Right.
Preparation and planning and picking your team. So,
right.
So hopefully you guys found this information of value, and it's always our goal to bring in news that you can use that isn't just so stuck in the negative. Let's focus on a little bit of positive, see light at the end of the tunnel, and do it all safely while navigating these tricky waters, and all of us accomplishing our goals together, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We do. Do you have a couple minutes? Ooh, it looks like we have a question from one of the people who are watching this live right now.
I love questions. Yes. Let's see. Even a 0% interest will be meaningless. Okay, sorry. Meaningless if people have no income or they opted for a few months forbearance while the crisis stabilizes. Will banks be willing to refinance buyers that opted for forbearance? Okay, that's in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, so we did talk about forbearances a couple weeks ago, and maybe we'll have to circle back around because it is something that is a little bit newer. With these new loans or refinances, folks still have to qualify for those new loans. So if you're in an unfortunate situation and you've lost your job or you've been furloughed for a couple of months, unfortunately, there are not a lot of options to be able to qualify for a refinance. However, banks, if you are qualified to move forward, if you are currently in forbearance, the new lender is going to want to know that that mortgage is brought up to speed. So that loan typically does need to be taken out of forbearance. That forbearance, because you have to prove that you qualify for it, just indicates to the new lender that there's an inability to make that monthly payment. So those forbearances are put in place for a very specific reason. People should take advantage of them in order to get your family and or yourself in a good financial position in the meantime. But all of this is still so new. So how it affects things moving forward, or if the government's going to do things in order, like they did similar in the 2008 era, in order to allow people to move forward and get refinances so they can make their payments more affordable. That's to be determined. So, it is unfortunate right now for folks that can't prove that income in order to get a lower payment. But we'll see what happens in the coming months and the coming year or so to see how these forbearances or what the government's willing to do in order to get people to refinance and stay in their homes.
Yeah. Well, I believe that everyone learned a lot from the last experience, the housing bubble of 2008. And like everybody is taking a little bit more precaution right now. And at the same time, like everybody wants this to get back on track as quickly as possible. So it will be interesting to see how they're going to help these people that are in tough situations right now. And the reality is, not everybody is going to be able to make a move, to buy, sell, and now just might not be the time. and that's okay too. You know, it even in that circumstance, it's going to be about having a plan. Having a plan. How are you going to get back on track? And that might take 6 months. It might take 12 months. It might take a couple years. You know, I've been there. Trust me. I know. You know, during the last collapse, I had a lot of real estate and a lot of investments, and it was hard digging out of that hole. So if anybody understands what some of the folks out there are going through today, it's this guy. And I felt like I always kept a positive attitude and had a plan and worked my butt off to get out of it. So now's not going to be the right time for everybody.
Right. Yeah, and it is unfortunate because, you know, we have certainly been faced with people who are trying to get their families in a better financial position by taking advantage of interest rates while they're lower. And just last week we had, you know, a couple of folks say, "Hey, we got furloughed," and so unfortunately, because there's no income stream coming in, they can't qualify for that new loan moving forward. So banks are not willing to take a new risk for somebody that can't prove that they're going to be able to make that payment, because what they don't want is for somebody to immediately go into a forbearance period or a default period with that new loan. So it, you know, it's unfortunate, but it does make sense from an investment standpoint that, you know, I mean, just everything is under a big level of scrutiny right now. A lot of banks are pulling back. Freddie Mac just announced that they are not doing cash out refinances right now, period. So, you know, that's probably something that we could maybe touch on next week a little bit more. But, you know, a lot of people are concerned about it because they are saying, well, how can these banks not allow me to take advantage of my equity right now? And to a bank, unfortunately, there's not a sense of, you know, moral judgment. It's either do you qualify or do you not qualify, because they don't want to be in the same or similar position than they were in 2008.
Yeah.
So we can talk about that and strategy and what people can do if they do need to leverage their equity. But interesting times. This is so brand new. I mean, March 15th, when a lot of these announcements came out, that wasn't too long ago. I mean, we're a month and a half, you know, into this. So
does it seem like a year and a half to you though?
Gosh, yes. It really does.
We are all so ready to figure out what our new normal looks like. I think we were talking about that before hopping on. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting. So it sounds like we have a little bit of a topic for next week. We'll dive into that a little bit more. And until next time, hopefully you found some news that you can use. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys again next Monday at 12:30. Okay?
Awesome.
Okay. Have a great
See you
day.
then.